Good morning, guys. Welcome back. I'm sure you're here because you're wondering, how did I manage to get over 200 trees for under $50? I'm going to tell you all about that today. This one here is probably one of my prime examples. This is a pear tree that I grafted on last year. So this growth that you're seeing here is all within 1 year. I did prune it. It's a very healthy tree. It's done really well. Total cost for me is $0. The $50 really comes from, I had to buy some pruning shears, a knife, a little bit of gear like that. This one here, I was given some scions from a friend for free, so it didn't cost anything. This past year, I actually went out and bought some scions, or tried to anyways. The guy ended up donating them to the organization that I was working with, so I got some for free. So I've got about close to 50 varieties of pear, and really $50 is about my only expense. So you can see right here, this is the graft union. I chose to graft, what would that be, about 4 feet up off the ground. I was thinking, this tree's grown here for this long without rabbits chewing it and deer messing it up. If I go too low to the ground, it might get chewed on too much. There's no protection here. I'm not trying to guard these things from anything. That would just drive the costs up. And for how easy it is to do a graft, I figure I'm just gonna let it be. So these pears, I've grafted these onto the Bradford Pear, or the Callery Pear. It's an invasive tree that was introduced to the United States as a landscaping tree. It's beautiful in the spring. You've probably seen it's got beautiful white flowers all over it. They smell disgusting, but the nice thing is they make good rootstock. Now, some states have actually listed them officially as an invasive. In Missouri, I'm not sure if they are listed or not. I would not recommend planting them. But if you have them on your property, you may as well use them and put them to good use. Also, by doing this, I've effectively removed the invasive properties of this tree. The rootstock, of course, is still viable, and that could send up new shoots, like these ones here. These shoots here will, if I don't prune them back, will one day bear fruit, the invasive Callery Pear. But because this is a tree I care about, I am going to come in here when I get some time and actually prune all these things off. So, yeah, you can see the graft union. It's right here. This is about the size of the scion I grafted on. It wasn't quite this tall, close to it this spring. I pruned it back. Actually, I can see my cut right there is where I pruned it. And then it grew all these other branches out since then. Actually, come on in and take a look down here. This is how this tree started out. It was much larger. You can see it had a bigger stump. We cut it back, and then about a year or two later, the sprouts the suckers that it sent up were big enough to graft on. So that's how I'm doing that. I really like grafting onto rootstocks that are in place like this. The reason being, first of all, this grew from a seed that was planted right here. It's never been moved. Its roots have never been disturbed. So in theory, it should have perfect roots. Of course, there's going to be obstructions and stuff in the ground, so it's not necessarily going to be perfect, but they've never been pruned, they've never been damaged. If you buy a container pot, it's grown, it's probably got circled roots in there. It's really restricted. Starting out with a tree like this that's been planted in place from seed really gives you some amazing results. This tree did not bear any fruit this year. I do have a tree over there that did bear some fruit. I'm going to show you guys that in a little bit. I am expecting some fruit off of this tree next year, though. But of course, we'll have to see. But I don't know. What do you think? I think that's pretty impressive for just a 1-year-old tree. Yeah, so this tree here it's had 2 growing seasons now since the graft. I'm going to walk right over here. And this tree I grafted earlier this spring. Me and my boys were out doing some grafting. So that's this guy. The graft is right here, actually. So it's growing maybe about 3 feet. This one, actually, I know what the variety is. This is a Duchess. It appears to be doing well. The scions that I received from a very kind gentleman, he said that they're all generally fire blight resistant, which is a big issue down here in Missouri. I'm not planning on spraying these trees or treating them for anything. I want trees on this property that can just survive. I don't want to be out here babying trees just to get some pears. That's not worth it to me. So I'm really hoping that these trees are just going to be able to adapt and survive in my environment here. So yeah, this is a nice example of a 3-year-old tree, or sorry, not a 3-year-old tree, 3-foot tree, 1-year-old. You can see we've got 2 leaders here. So come spring, I'm going to have to make a decision. Do I keep this one? Do I keep this one? And I'll probably end up topping it too, try to get some lateral branches coming out. but we'll see, because I also really admire just the size of a massive tree. There's an apple tree from my childhood that I remember. It was probably a good 30, 40 feet tall. It was just a ginormous tree. And just looking at an apple tree that big is just beautiful. Yeah, it's a pain to harvest, I'm sure, but I'm actually not growing these specifically just for me. I'm hoping that the wildlife is also going to benefit from these trees. And so yeah, because of that, I'm not so concerned about being able to pick all the fruit. I'm sure there'll be plenty of fruit down at the level I can pick. And since, you know, right now I'm at about 200, 250 of these trees, I'm going to have plenty of pears. One thing, if you want to come on in here, cameraman, one thing that you have to be mindful of when doing any graft really, but especially one where I've grafted about 5 feet up here, is they're going to send up a lot of new shoots. These shoots here, they're below the graft, so this is going to be the rootstock. This isn't going to bear good edible fruit. If you get them when they're small enough, it's nice. You can just break them off like that. You don't actually need to come out with your pruners. So it's an easy way to keep on top of these trees. Just walking around them normally or regularly and just breaking off the new growth. That's the undesirable new growth that is up here. Obviously I'm going to be a little more careful because this is where the fruit's going to come from. I'm going to take you around and show you a few more of the trees that I've done either this year or last year, and then I'm going to show you that fruit, which I'm really excited about. Okay, so not everything is all success and happiness. This tree here, I grafted this one this spring. It did not take. It's hard to tell with all this new growth it's put off, but you see the dead part there, that's the sign that didn't take. It's all wibbly and weak. Not sure why that failed exactly, but it does happen. This one was supposed to be a Bourgifard, but I'm gonna try again next year. That's kind of the beauty of it too. You don't need 100% success, because I can just come back next year. And actually there's a tree over there, it failed, and I did a second graft on it in the same year, and the second graft is taken. Hopefully it makes it through the winter, but again, if it fails, it doesn't really matter. I'm not losing anything. Right up here, I'm getting a little bit more experimental over here with my grafts. This one here, I did the graft a lot lower than what I normally do. We're about 2.5 feet off the ground. This has been an especially difficult year for the pears, especially. I think all trees in general. This was the double brood of cicadas that came out, and cicadas actually, that tender, small growing branch, basically this size, the cicadas will actually dig a hole in there, plant their eggs, and then the end of the tree will die. So that's what's happened here, I believe. I don't think this is deer damage. And then also it's been a wet year, so we've had tons of fire blight. So a lot of my grafts are really struggling, which is awesome, because I don't want a tree that's going to grow for 5 years and then just all of a sudden die because we get a bad year of fire blight. Get the bad fire blight over in the first year, wean out the weak ones. I should have good trees going on in the future. This one here is another Bourgifard, so hopefully it tastes good. Now, speaking of experimental, this one, I just happened to find this little guy growing in here, so I thought I should do a graft on it. Now, no one in their right mind would ever plant a tree shaded like this. It just doesn't make sense. But when you're grafting it, it's not actually costing you anything. You can be a little bit more experimental. So my reasoning by doing this is thinking that the shade is going to kind of put this into a different USDA zone, different climate zone. It might protect it from, say, a late frost. So if we get a late frost, kills all the blossoms on all the trees that are exposed. This one might be protected because it's inside of a different, or it's inside of the canopy rather. It may also just never bear fruit because it has way too much shade. But this is going to be a fun experiment. Let's see here. This one is a, boy, these aren't good tags. I think it says Garber. Garber, maybe. Actually, if you come on in, take a close look here, you can see this dead. It's died at the tip here. That's, I'm pretty sure that's the cicadas getting in there and killing it off. But you can see these leaves have come back. My graft is here. I actually still have the tape on it. I actually just use electrical tape when I do my grafting. I find it works sufficiently well for pears anyways. They're a very, well, not very, but they're a pretty easy tree to graft. I mostly just do whip and tongue, but there's the actual graft right there. It's well healed up now, so there's no problem in taking the tape off. But we'll see what this tree does. I don't have much hope for it bearing a lot of fruit, but it's going to be a fun experiment. All right, I think I'm gonna take you over and show you guys the actual fruit. All right, I got sidetracked. We're not gonna get to the fruit quite yet. This tree here, this graft was done 2 years ago, and this tree has had a terrible, terrible life. You can see something got in here and actually broke the branches off right here, broke these branches off. So this is new growth from this year. This tree was actually grafted by one of our interns with the Harp and Farm internship. We bring interns here for 1 to 3 months. We teach them different farming techniques, regenerative farming, the grazing, grafting. So this was a tree that one of them grafted. The idea is one day, you know, they'll get to come back and check out what they've done, but ultimately the real goal is hopefully that they take what they've learned here, go home, and they can spread this anywhere. You can see we've got quite a good aphid infestation on this thing. And actually, I don't know if we'll catch it on the camera, but there's an ant up here, and there's a good chance this ant is harvesting the aphids, or farming the aphids rather, which is just a really neat thing. Not too good for the tree, but it's fine with me. All right, let's go look at that fruit. All right, so this right here is the tree that actually bore some fruit this year. I haven't checked on it in a couple months. It originally had 6 pears on it, and then it was down to 5, and last I looked there was only 1. Ah, that's too bad. This is it here. Oh no, it's gone. They didn't make it. That's too bad. But that's farming. So it's pretty rare to get fruit the first year after a graft. So I was pretty excited about that. Normally if you plant, if you go to the nursery and buy a tree and you plant it, you're supposed to wait about 3 years before you actually get fruit off of it. And that's to give time for the roots to establish. When you're grafting a tree like this, the roots are already fully established. You don't have to worry about that. So if that tree wants to set some fruit, you can let it. Really, your only main concern is the branches are still pretty weak, so you don't want too much fruit or you're gonna end up with broken branches. But yeah, so this tree here, this is its 2nd growing season, and the graft's right here. It's still pretty ugly. That's gonna take a little while to heal up, but that's got a good 5-6 feet on me. So that's some impressive growth. I'm really encouraged and really happy with the grafting. Okay, so one of the things that you need to be mindful of when you're doing these grafts is, because the rootstock, this is all poison ivy, so I got to be careful walking in here, but because the rootstock is so established, it's able to put so many nutrients up into the plant that the top can actually get too heavy, which is exactly what's happened here. So this tree, there he is here, the graft is right here. You can see it's just been laying on the ground. It fell over. It was too heavy. This one, these are new buds coming up, so I guess it's trying to grow a new branch kind of up that way. And again, if I'd spent 50 bucks on this thing at a nursery, you better believe I'd have this staked and be babying it, and I probably would have cut down all these other trees around it. But this is fun. This is doing a little bit of a experiment. What's going to happen with this poor tree here? Is it going to lay down, send out some roots, and like make some neat tree, or is it going to just die? Nice thing is, it's just an experiment. It doesn't matter. One thing I had considered doing is you can make I'm not sure what the graft would be called, but I could take it, and there's another pear tree here, and I could tape them together and like do a graft up here and make like a little tunnel through them, and that would actually give the other tree support and hold it up. But obviously I haven't done that yet. There's just really cool pictures I've seen where people have planted trees along their walkway, and then after they get big, they graft them over top, so you're like walking inside of a tree. Really cool. I'd like to get into doing some of that stuff later, but for now I'm just kind of letting nature take its course and see where we end up. Speaking of that, let's go over and have a look at that double grafted tree. If I can get out of here without getting poison ivy, I'm going to be doing real good. Okay, so this tree here is the one I mentioned that I did 2 grafts on it this year. The first graft was up here. It failed for some reason. I kind of think it was the cicadas, but I'm not sure. We also had sheep in here, which may have knocked it loose. So I just came back, probably would have been May or June, and I did a second graft, which is right here. And as you can see, this graft is taken. It looks nice and healthy. This this leaf right here, I'm pretty sure it's a little touch of fire blight on it, but as you can see, overall this tree is quite healthy and doing well. So I think long term this is going to be a really good tree right here. It's nice. My house is right there, so basically right in my front yard I have a beautiful pear tree, which is going to be great because I've got kids and they like to eat fruit. So yeah, I've literally got between 200 and 250 of these trees growing on the property right now. I'm expecting to start seeing some fruit next year. So that's 2 years and I should have fruit. And this is super low physical labor to get in here. No holes dug, just a simple cut, a couple cuts with the knife, stick it on, tape it, and away it goes. This tree here, you can see it's got these suckers coming up from the rootstock. I'm gonna have to come in here and prune these back, but I'm a little bit afraid because this is all poison ivy right here and I'm super sensitive to that stuff. So I'll have to figure out what I'm gonna do with this guy. But I'm gonna make a video right here actually, if you guys want to learn how to actually graft. Of course, these two videos are also good too, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys.